I was like, I want to sing. I know this is what I want to do. I had already decided that's what I wanted to do. So literally, I was 16 years old. I took a sheet of paper. I wrote down 3 goals. My first goal was to get discovered. And my second goal was to sell 3 to 4 million records. And then my third goal was to have longevity. I was on my whole mission at that moment.
Ciara in the early 2000s had one of the biggest starts for her career than a lot of her peers. With the help of Missy Elliott and Jazzy Faye for her debut album, she had all the right people in her corner that easily gave her the boost to have a successful career. When you think of the early 2000s girls becoming icons, it's Beyonce and it's Rihanna. Beyonce with her voice and curvaceous body, and Rihanna with her sexy appeal. But what about Ciara? Why doesn't she get as much recognition as the other girls if they all helped revolutionize different sounds in the 2000s? Why is she an afterthought when it comes to her contribution in music? It could have been many factors. Is it because she lost her public appeal? Lack of success from her albums? Her questionable dating choices from people like Bow Wow, 50 Cent, and Future? Or the fact that people thought she was a man? What exactly happened to the longevity in Ciara's career? Ciara began her career by auditioning for a group called Hearsay. The group recorded a few demos but eventually broke up due to creative differences. Feeling a need to keep advancing in her career, she decided to start out small by becoming a songwriter and signing a publishing deal. She wrote for people like Fantasia and Blue Cantrell, and as she started to write, it started opening up more doors for her as she was introduced to Jazzy Faye, the producer that would soon change her life. When it comes to music, working with a bunch of producers does broaden your range, but it really takes a special person that clicks with your sound and the type of music that you want to make, like Aaliyah and Timbaland, Kanye West and Jay-Z, Babyface and Toni Braxton, and Ciara's magical pairing was Jazzy Faye. Jazzy was experimenting and wanted to push out a sound of a mixture of crunk and R&B, and Ciara walked into his life and turned out to be the perfect candidate. The success of 3 6 Mafia and Lil Jon opened the floodgates for the host of other southern hip-hop artists to parlay crunk into stardom. Atlanta generated most of these performers, including the Ying Yang Twins, Lil Jon, and Lil Scrappy. This new wave in hip-hop and R&B became a staple in sound as a lot of artists were trying to ride the wave, creating hit songs like Knuck If You Buck, Get Low, and none other than Goodies. Basically look at it as when the trap era that took off in the 2010s. With Jazzy introducing Ciara to L.A. Reid and signing a deal, they began working on Ciara's debut album, Goodies. The album was released in September of 2004 as it debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200, selling over 100,000 copies in its first week. The songs on the album were instant chart toppers, like the lead single Goodies, 1-2 Step and O, showed off her dance skills and delivered iconic dance breaks. The help of Missy Elliott, Jazzy, and Ludacris and Lil Jon helped propel Ciara as the princess of crunk, and the intensity of her dance moves made her stand out as the breakout star. While being able to separate herself from the likes of Ashanti, Nivea, and Beyonce. By this time, Ciara was doing amazing in her career as she was the people's favorites, including rapper Bow Wow. Bow Wow and Ciara were a cute couple who dated for 2 years and were engaged, Bow Wow being the megastar he was at the time with multiple platinum records, hit songs, and movies. And with Ciara's new stardom, their couple status makes sense. They even collaborated for their hit song Like You. They broke up in 2006, but it helped Ciara stay on the radar as the people's princess. Being nominated for 4 Grammys for her debut album, everybody was excited to see what Ciara had in store for her next project. But with the rise of the internet, it didn't come without its own runaround in the rumor mill. Although Ciara had an amazing debut, forums and chat rooms started taking off, and somehow there was rumors spreading that Ciara used to be a man or that she was a hermaphrodite. The rumor plagued Ciara's career because it was the beginning of the internet. People came up with their own theories and clues on how and what made Ciara a man. People believed that when she was born, she had both genitalias and her parents decided on her being a girl. Or when she was 5 or 11, either ages, she decided she wanted to be a girl and changed sexes. And what added on to the rumors was the fact that people claimed that they saw Ciara on a segment of Oprah where she openly talked about her sex change. But since the internet was still fairly new, you couldn't just pull back a clip and show it as evidence. So it was a bunch of he said, she said with no clarification on where the rumor actually came from. But obviously the Oprah segment never really happened. People just made that up and ran with it. A lot of people poked fun at her physical features because Ciara is relatively tall. She was 5'8" when she debuted. She was either taller or just as tall as her male or female counterparts and had a fit physique to match. But Ciara has always been active when she was a teenager. She was a cheerleader and a dancer, as you can see from her music videos. She continues to work and tone her body, and she was still fairly young, not too far from her high school days when she entered the industry. She was only 19 years old, so her body type was still relatively to her high school body. So from her legs to her arm, they were toned and muscular, but in a feminine way. But people use that as evidence to say that her being a bit muscular was proof. But don't also forget that the early 2000s was plagued with a lot of video vixens. All the girls were voluptuous and were packing ass. And if they were petite, they still had some curves to them. Ciara has a great body, but she's not curvaceous. She didn't have big boobs or the butt, so her being different from her counterparts based on her body played into those rumors. Social media wasn't around for her to just clear it up on the spot, so eventually she had to address it on a few platforms to clear her name.
Say none of them bother me, but I'll just do it just to do it because whatever. There's one thing about me being a man or something like that. Before I was something when I was born, I got a change,
really?
A hermaphrodite or something like that. Okay. And they said that I went on Oprah and did it. And I'm like, okay, come on now. You know, if I was on Oprah, like, I mean, it takes a while before that happens for somebody going to Oprah. You know what I mean? Like, that's really big. So we know that didn't happen. If you can find it, though, I'll give you $100 grand and fly you around the world and do everything for you. If you can find that tape and play it for me.
In 2006, Ciara's second album, The Evolution, was released, becoming her first #1 album. Selling over 300,000 copies its first week, Ciara describing the album as more than just her personal growth. It's about the evolution of music, the evolution of dance, and the evolution of fashion. Her sound was more different but still catchy enough to captivate her fan base. This album, like her last album, spawned numerous of hits like Get Up, which features Chamillionaire, Promise, which is more of a softer ballad with a slower pace. Can't Leave 'Em Alone was another single for Ciara that didn't chart that well, even though it was a successful song for average listeners. The song was featuring 50 Cent, who was her then boyfriend at the time. Who she also called her best friend. Like a Boy would have to be her standout single from the album. Not just for its smooth tempo and catchy hook, but like its successor single, Promise, it was praised for its choreography. This album really allowed Ciara to show off her dance skills. For this era, it was different as Ciara took more of an R&B route and delivered memorable dances. Ciara continued to show off her capabilities as a natural-born dancer, like her predecessors Michael and Janet, whom she took inspiration from, taking on unique choreos that were used to highlight her singles. She has multiple moves that showed off her flexibility that flow so seamlessly with her. This era definitely gave Ciara more props for her being a dancer and performer that future generations can take inspiration from. For her next album, Fantasy Ride, her career took a bit of a hit. By this time, she wanted to expand with her sound and try something new. She decided to split from her partner in crime, Jazzy Faye, and work with other producers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the way we separated was kind of like by management. We were managed by the same person. Okay. So when you break up from your management and you go this way, you leave everything back here.
Oh.
We never had an argument.
Sure.
We never had a fight.
Business.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm going this way with my career and I'm gonna make it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But to me,
she used her usual R&B and hip-hop sound, but this time she wanted to incorporate more pop. Her decision made sense for the direction that the music industry was diving into at this time. Pop was becoming extremely popular, and she may have seen the route in the industry and tried to make the switch along with it. She created an alter ego to counter the theme of the album. I've made videos on alter egos and how they are created to reinvent an artist and their sound. So Ciara branching away from Jazzy Faye, she felt like she needed to dive into an alter ego to help this new era of her music career. She unveiled a comic book character called Super C. Ciara described Super C as her inner strength and aggressive persona, the inner strength and drive that enables her to overcome any obstacles that she has to be in order to accomplish her goals and dreams and to survive in this tough world. which was presented as a futuristic, superhero-esque version of her. This era made sense for Ciara to present an alter ego because it was becoming more of a thing during that time period. Beyonce unveiled Sasha Fierce and openly talked about this version of her in interviews, and it was easy for her audience to differentiate who is Beyonce and who is Sasha Fierce. Rihanna using the same alter ego formula for her Good Girl Gone Bad era, where she completely stripped herself from being the girl from Barbados into a force to be reckoned with, changing her look by rocking a more edgy hairstyle with the pixie cut. It was working for everybody else but Ciara. I think that's where she could have gotten her inspo from for this era, but it wasn't resonating with her fans. She released a few singles that didn't give her as much momentum as it should have. The only top 10 she got was from Love, Sex, and Magic with Justin Timberlake. The album did well, debuting at number 3, but it isn't a well-rounded album for Ciara due to the weak singles. It seemed like in this era, Ciara was overshadowed. The rollout for the album was messy overall, the songs kept getting leaked, and the label kept pushing the album back, so it didn't have the proper promo along with the singles that weren't doing that well. The album overall isn't a bad album, but it wasn't handled correctly, making it a flop era and a flop alter ego. The shift from the music industry was also being used against her. The industry was becoming more pop, so if you were a black artist, unless you were someone like Usher, Beyonce, or Rihanna, you weren't gonna get ushered through and have industry or radio support. She wasted no time releasing another album the next year. She released Basic Instinct, describing the album as her trusting her instinct and going back to her R&B and urban basics. This album unfortunately would be the fall of Ciara's music career, Basic Instinct becoming Ciara's lowest charting album from her previous works, and although received positive reviews, but because of the previous year's rollout for the album for Fantasy Ride, Ciara's lost her musical momentum. She did have a great single with Ludacris called Ride, but aside from that, many people don't remember the album. The label was extremely disappointed with Fantasy Ride and completely backed out of promoting Basic Instinct, leaving Ciara to use her own money to promote some of the singles. Like Fantasy Ride, it came with its own issues. Songs were being leaked and her music videos were banned. Her only successful single was Ride was banned from BET due to the video's provocative dances. The lack of label support really saddened Ciara as she requested to be released from her label because they didn't believe in her anymore. Ciara's comeback would be swift and relaunch her career as an artist, a few years after the chaoticness of her previous works. Her self-titled album was gonna flop before it was readjusted. It was originally called One Woman Army, and after a few of the singles flopped, her label Epic decided to scrap the singles and restart, renaming the album and releasing new singles. When Ciara came out with Future in her Body Party song, it reignited her career, not only because the song was so good, because we can all admit Body Party is a great song that Ciara flawlessly flows on, but with Future's background ad-libs and music video cameo, it created a lot of buzz for Ciara for her up-and-coming album. Their union was also good publicly since Future had released his debut album Pluto just a year prior. He was still riding the wave from the huge positive reviews he received, so his pairing with Ciara made sense from a social standpoint. Ciara followed with a second single with Nicki Minaj called I'm Out and performed it at the BET Awards. When her album finally released, everything this time around helped Ciara regain her momentum in music. She was hitting the charts again in the tabloids as a brand new socialite. But not for everything positive. Ciara's album debuted at the top 10, which is amazing, but soon after her relationship with Future started deteriorating. Future is a certified bachelor and their relationship, although good for business, was bad for her. Nobody really understood why Ciara would get with Future when he comes with a lot of intimate baggage.
Future already has 3 baby mamas, so Ciara, hop in line, you'll be like number 4.
Allegedly, he was still fooling around with one of his other baby mamas.
I would have moments in the shower and I'd be crying like,
No, I'm sure it was really difficult for you. You had a baby, you were engaged, it was all very public, and then it was over.
Because a person can lie so good, and when you love somebody, you can't hear.
She actually got backlash for being with him, and the public embarrassment from Future's infidelities was a lot to handle. They were on and off and even engaged, but it didn't stop their relationship struggle. And soon enough, Ciara was pregnant, becoming Future's 4th baby mama, which seemed bad for her image at the time, but along the way becoming a blessing to the new path for her life. Baby Future was a blessing, and Ciara genuinely loved Future and would openly talk about their relationship, taking care and even accepting his outside children in their relationship without it being a problem. That itself wasn't enough, as he still found ways to be unfaithful to her. Ciara leaving the relationship was a step towards growth and healing from what she dealt with before. From being so hurt and frustrated, this journey of becoming a mother and rebirthing herself made her step back and reevaluate her decisions and find self.
Becoming a single mom was the start of that.
Right.
And I'll be like crying because I am not in the happiest place and it hurts when I'm going through it.
What was the most painful aspect of that?
The most painful.
Was it the breakup? Was it the idea of being a single parent?
It was a combination of everything.
Right.
Because none of it was ideal. I grew up with my mom and my dad being together. The idea of it being mommy and daddy that made babies.
Yeah.
And then also you're living your life in front of the world.
Yeah.
And that adds a whole other layer.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm failing right now.
Other people,
they're gonna roast me.
Yeah.
Here they come in the comments. not to get fried. Like, you know, all that stuff, you know, it's real. You can't help but to think of it. And the one thing I will say is I'm really afraid of losing myself.
Got it.
Okay.
And I think if you sit in situations that aren't healthy or you let them like linger too long, you start to lose yourself, you know? I don't like crying all the time. I don't like being sad. So I'm like, how do I get out of this?
Exactly.
Because I like being happy.
Like trying every single way.
I'm like, we're going to have to push through this.
Exactly. Yeah.
When I was thinking about my son, I know what I want to feel. Like, I know the kind of love like that I want for us.
Yeah.
She chose herself and made the best decision for her. Meeting Russell Wilson, he basically swooped her off her feet, beginning a friendship, then entering a celibate relationship before they got married. But most importantly, becoming a father figure to baby Future.
To be loved a certain way.
Right.
But I was just walking in the wrong direction. I was looking in the wrong direction. I thought I was going to be single for a long time. Being in that new position of being a single mom is like, when you're thinking about dating, that's like a bit of a like, what's this going to be like? Because I look different now. Like, not saying I physically look different, but I look different because when I date, now it's not just me, it's somebody else.
You have somebody else.
So you created a different vision for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was very clear on it, but I also desired something different. Loving myself was huge because once I start to love myself, then I'm also loving my son.
Yeah.
Right? Then I can also love how I can also be loved how I deserve to be loved, and I can also love the right way too.
Exactly.
And the moment I start to do that, like the taste of something that I thought kind of was like cool or tasted right before, it didn't taste good anymore.
There you go. Yeah.
When Russ came into our lives, Future was 10 months old. It was different.
Yeah.
I never had that feeling in my life.
What was the feeling? What was it?
It was just like, it was calm. The way he looked at life, it was different. Also, the energy with my son, it just felt right. And then, of course, the consistency. He's consistent. Whenever he would think of me, he would always think about my son. And to love me is to love my son.
There you go.
We come together.
Yep.
Russell stepped in and stepped up, accepting Ciara and her situation, and Future, being a petty man, spoke down on Russell and insulted their relationship.
How you feel about that nigga Russell Wilson, though? Nigga, don't think about it, just say it.
He do exactly what she tell him to do.
I said, how do you feel about the nigga, period?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I don't have no feelings for it. I feel like, goddamn, it ain't no feelings.
Do you feel like the nigga go too far, though?
I feel like he getting caught up
I'm talking about with your son. Do you feel like the nigga go too far?
He not being a man in that position. Like, he not being a man at that point. Like, you not being a man. You not telling her, man, bro, chill out with that on the internet. Don't even talk to him. I'm your husband. You better not even bring Future name up. If that was me, she couldn't even bring his name up. She know that. She couldn't even bring her ex's name up. Now, I don't care what they gave you, what you don't bring their name up in interviews. Don't even do nothing around them. No, don't say nothing. I felt that the fact you'd already been around my kid when y'all started going together, and when y'all first posted the first picture, and I didn't even, and you haven't even talked to me. And then when y'all get married, y'all would be like, she was like, I want you to meet Russell now, man. Y'all already done did all the damage. I don't want to meet him now.
There was a lot of back and forth and unnecessary pettiness, including them suing each other for defamation for Future calling her a bad mother. It's been a rocky road as she had to deal with the public backlash from moving on from Future to Russell, because some people felt like she didn't deserve a happy ending. Then Future being upset because she found a happy ending. Ciara quickly began working on her 6th album after her self-titled, but was delayed for release due to the busyness with motherhood and dealing with the drama with Future. Somehow, Ciara moving on to someone like Russell felt off-brand to the male audience or Future's audience. Her relationship with Future overshadowed her album. Her single I Bet was a shot at her ex-fiancé, but overall that was the only single that had much traction, and her album Jackie received her lowest sales to date. Her next album, Beauty Marks, would be what Ciara describes as taking a new musical direction. But before its release, Ciara wanted to talk to her label head for Warner Records about owning her masters, which they actually had no problem giving to her. They didn't agree with the musical direction that she was going in.
Happy with it. They decided they want to stop in the process.
When did you decide, at some point, I want to own my masters?
I had this song called Level Up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up. I had the video for the song as well. I had a whole vision for my project, and I sat down and I talked to the CEO at that time. It was like he made up his mind before I came into the room that he wasn't checking for it. And in a matter of 24 hours, the most frustrating thing happened, but one of the biggest blessings in my life happened. I was like, this is my chance. I'm gonna ask for my masters. I'm gonna go run my own label. I'm gonna go do it my way. And amazingly enough, they gave me my masters.
Yeah.
They gave it to me for free. So it lets you know that they didn't believe at all.
Wow, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay, was it really that easy?
It was that easy. And I was ready. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
We're gonna level all the way up.
This is great for Ciara, as she was going to receive more residuals for her music, but Ciara's music has been on a decline for a while now. They didn't value her artistry enough to fight for her on her masters. The release of her single Level Up did chart through her own independent label, Beauty Marks Entertainment. The song inspired the viral Level Up Dance Challenge, Ciara challenging her fans to share 3 ways that they hope to level up in their life for promotion for the single. Using her situation from Future and Ciara's prayer to finding a good man has helped rebrand her. Her music has showed a level of maturity as she's become a happy wife and mother, escaping an unhealthy situation. Ciara continues to release music, and she recently released an EP called CC in 2023 and collabed with the younger girls like Summer Walker and Lola Brooks. Ciara's music doesn't necessarily hit the same as it once was when Jazzy was her producer. She now makes music for fun and not really to chart, but because she's an artist and more so sees music as something that she can always fall back on, she dabbles in more things like acting and hosting. But more importantly, being a mother to her 4 children. Having a family with her husband Russell, she enjoys the high life of being a successful artist, but also a great mother and wife. Ciara's decline in music isn't her end-all be-all, because in the time she was at her peak, she managed to become a household name and become an inspiration for the newer generation when it comes to music style and dance. Well, that concludes today's video, guys. Let me know what you think down below about Ciara's longevity and how she's made an impact in music, and whether or not her split from Jazzy Faye became a reason for her musical downfall. Make sure you like and subscribe, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Toodles!